first and foremost, Black Lives Matter, period. There is no question in anybody's mind, there never should be, that at this day and age there should be absolutely no discrimination, no racial discrimination whatsoever. Hey guys, hope you're all well and welcome to my channel. I'm so sorry that I haven't managed to get a video out for 10 days or so. I was intending to get a muntjac video out about a week ago. But anyway, went to the muntjac area that I was invited to go shoot some muntjacs. Apparently they were really thick on the ground, damaging the trees, what have you. And saw no sign of deer at all. Well, I did see a fallow buck, but obviously out of season, so pretty irrelevant really. But yeah, no muntjacs. So took all the camera gear up there. You know, took Laura up there. She was going to film for me. We basically ended up walking around, camping out in this area for about 3 days, and saw absolutely nothing. So yeah, not the most impressive of. Anyway, so yeah. Went there, saw nothing, not ideal. Then it was my birthday. That all got sort of caught up in the last week. So realistically, this is the first sort of opportunity I've had to actually get a film out. Hoping you guys will enjoy it. It's going to be a sort of blog talking about current issues. Don't worry, stuff is coming. Very exciting stuff planned with a safari company. So planning to go out when this is all over and do some big game out in Africa, which will be fantastic. I know a lot of you will be very keen to see. So yeah, that's the next sort of goal, is to get that going. Let me know about what you think. What about it in the comments if you've got any ideas. But I thought I'd just sort of go through a couple of things. I thought I'd just talk a bit more about what the stuff that is going on in London at the moment as well. Basically, I think that first and foremost, Black Lives Matter, period. There is no question in anybody's mind, there never should be, that at this day and age there should be absolutely no discrimination, no racial discrimination whatsoever. Everybody of every creed, race, religion should be treated exactly the same, and there is really no excuse for this terrible sort of goings on which is going on, particularly in America, but also in the UK with the police brutality. It beggars belief how anybody can possibly believe that what happened to George Floyd was ever anything but a complete and total words of murder, you know. And I think that wherever we can, we should support the BLM movement. Obviously, as shooting is a vast majority of particularly white males, which is in itself social discrimination itself. It just said this doesn't seem to be the same inclusion, particularly in our sport. So everywhere we can, we should always try and include everybody from every, you know, religion, race. There should never be an excuse for any kind of discrimination in this day and age. In fact, any day and age. But I mean, obviously back then people weren't. They were just, you know, they weren't educated on it as we are now, and how important it is that we do see these changes. And these people protests, unfortunately, are let down by a few individuals. What really did sort of hurt me a bit was I'm an avid supporter of obviously the Black Lives Matter movement, as everybody should be really. And I did see, you know, a couple of the protesters, but I think these guys weren't really protesting. They were just looking for an excuse to cause some trouble in amongst the peaceful protesters. But they were vandalising. Particularly the two that really sort of got to me was the Cenotaph being vandalised. That I just don't understand. That really made no sense at all in my head, because that is in itself symbolisation or symbol of equality. Men, women of both race, white, black, died in the wars, and they're all in memorandum in equality. So there's no. It's not like it's a white memorial. It's not like it's a black memorial. It's everybody's memorial. That is in itself what we're sort of striving for. So I think that was a bit of a one. I mean, obviously there's the one as well of Winston Churchill. I don't know enough about the bloke to say whether he was a racist or not. The chap who he fought off was I can pretty much guarantee was more racist than he was. But yeah, Winston Churchill statue obviously got very badly vandalised, and I saw some soldiers this morning, it's Monday morning, going down and cleaning him. Yeah, he was being obviously called a racist. Like I said, I don't know enough about the bloke to know if he was, but I still feel like perhaps, you know, being one of the masterminds of winning the war, should be have a bit more respect about to a chap like that than necessarily some of the protesters are giving him. But yeah, I suppose everybody has their own way of getting through, you know, and if they feel like they have to be particularly inclined towards vandalising certain national heroes, because that's what Winston Churchill is, there's no two ways about it. Whether we like it or not, that's who he is. He's one of the national treasures. You know, the other one that did sort of bug me about it as well was a couple of the incidents with the riot horses. I'm not sure if riot police should use horses still in this day and age, because quite simply, they are fight or flight animals. Well, they're mostly flight. They don't ever fight back. They're herbivores. They run away. I don't think that they should necessarily be used in a very volatile environment such as a riot. And it wasn't really a riot, but it was a bit of it. It was a couple of things being thrown, and the horses wouldn't understand they're trained to be like war horses. They're trained to kick and bite, and in a crowd, and they're also trained to just hold their ground and be very resilient. But obviously, there was a couple of horses which I think somebody threw a bicycle at one, which wasn't really very nice to see. We're obviously the shooting community are obviously all very avid supporters of animal rights, preventing animal cruelty, and when we do shoot something, we make sure it's a very quick and painless death, so we can then respect the animal. And respecting any animals, especially live ones, is very important, certainly to me. And I think perhaps some of the stuff that's being thrown. I know one of the horses got their jaws broken with a brick, which is a real shame, because I can't imagine there's much they can do about that apart from euthanization, because the horse can't get any sustenance. It's just one of these things that needs to be managed. And I think, like I said, we need to really get behind the Black Lives Matter movement as a community. That even where we may be small, I think every little helps. And I think getting behind them, doing a little bit, signing your petition, signing the petitions here and there, and just trying to get your very small, because that's what we are. Unfortunately, we're small for our political voices, because the powers to be will probably not listen. And particularly in America, I really can't see their president, Donald Trump. I can't see him changing policy, because Republicans are inherently racist, because of the way the country's been developed, and because of the way that social issues have been built on throughout the course of the years. It wasn't all long ago there was segregation. They have a really difficult one, but in the UK we're very much better. We're far more advanced in the way we treat one another, and I think the issues here really aren't as bad as some of the people are necessarily suggesting. We're not America. The police aren't going around shooting people because, well, number one, they don't have guns. They aren't going around beating people up and tasing people. If someone walks up in the street and starts throwing bricks at horses, then they probably will start beating them up, because that's just common sense, and that's the thing. I think the key is we're very supportive of this issue, and the faster and the sooner we can get it, that there's no segregation, there's no issue, there's no reason for people to be angry, then we can be a happy and strong community that we strive to be. Another one of the issues I sort of touch about on coming up is obviously one thing that it's gone away for the moment, but it will come back, is the banning of trophy imports into the UK. Zach Goldsmith, after he miserably lost the mayoral elections, and still probably the worst mayor that London has ever had, currently, he now has gone on a warpath to alienate and take out as many, and basically alienate himself among all the shooting community in the UK, and try and ban imports of all trophies into the UK. I don't understand why he's going down this path, but we need to strive to make sure he doesn't win. If it does come back, it's obviously been put on hold or taken away due to the coronavirus. But if it does come back, we need to basically protest and really get on top of that, because that cannot happen. If it does, the damage it will do to African species as a whole will be vast. Obviously the American hunters are the main groups, main income to conservation efforts in Africa. United Kingdom's big as well, but as soon as people are no longer allowed to bring their hunting trophies back from Africa, for example, then there will just be no money into those hunting companies, because they do not have any money coming in anywhere else. The only people who conserve the animals in those areas are the hunting companies. There's no invisible money from governments, there's no invisible money from charities, there's not a single dollar from anywhere else apart from the hunting money. And they're not going in there and shooting hundreds of thousands of animals, they're not going in and wasting everything, they're just taking the select bulls that they need to take, and then obviously they want to manage and boost the populations. Every place I've been, there's been a massive strive towards boosting the populations, and they're doing so. Anti-poaching, conservation, biodiversity, retaining rainforests, retaining forests. These massive areas which, without hunting companies, would just be developed or turned to farmland. All the wild animals would go, domestic animals would come in, and all the meat would be poached out, and there'd be nothing left. And that's what's happened in a lot of areas. Kenya, for example, they banned hunting completely, which was the stupidest thing anyone has ever done, because now their biodiversity is completely and totally shot out. They've got the farmers, the locals have come in and shot everything, they've shot all the meat. The only areas that anything left is the photographic safaris, and anyone that's actually been on a photographic safari will understand that it's the most boring, one thing I implore you to do, if you're thinking about going on safari, on a photographic safari, do not go, because it's a total waste of time. You'll see a couple of buffalo, you'll see, maybe if you go to a rhino reserve, you see a few rhino. that is about it. Literally, you won't see anything wild. It's basic. Safari reserves are zoos. The vast majority are fed, so they know where they'll be. They're zoos. They're not wild, just big zoos. It's basically like Longley. You go to Longley, you'll see more at Longley than if you go to majority of safari reserves, especially Kruger. It's the worst because there's public, so people can drive through and just chuck meat out the side of the car. One of the most elusive animals in the bush, a leopard, will be sat a foot from your car eating a steak you chucked out to it. That is why the only place you can find real wild animals is in your private and even your government-run hunting concessions, because people really need to, they really care about the animals. They keep them as wild and as untouched as possible, because that means that the animals will breed properly. They'll have the right breeding cycles. It's basically like, I could describe it as it's very much domestication. An animal's obviously grown up with cars constantly pouring through past them and people snapping away. Then it's obviously going to get used to those people. It's not going to behave in the right manners. With wild areas, the vast majority of animals you will see in these concessions have probably never seen a human being before. So they are as wild as you could possibly like. The hunting's amazing as a result, but more importantly, the animals are properly breeding, they're properly reproducing, and they're the ideal, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so that's the sort of my opinion on that. Obviously, as most people know, I'm actually obviously pro-African hunting, because photos of me came out in the press doing it, selling it to clients, and that's I'm qualified out there, I'm qualified here. I've been out there and seen it. Obviously it's a soft subject, because people see dead, perhaps some less tasteful photos with giraffes and lions and leopards. I think that the social media world, particularly your photos on Instagram, has been the bane for all shooting across the world. Most hunting folk understand that when you shoot an animal, I'd like to have a photo with that, because it's an impressive animal. I respect the animal. I don't want to just toss it aside. I want to take, I'll eat it, but I want to have a bit of a memento to take, to remember the hunt, and is a respect for the animal. And to people that don't understand hunting, that would seem weird. But taking an animal's head, or the horns especially, this was a coal buck I shot. This is a roebuck, for example, a while ago. And as you can see, he had a leg missing. A lot of you might have saw on my Instagram, but on my Cornish Sporting Agency Instagram, follow my company if you want to go come stalking with me. It's at Cornish Sporting Agency on Instagram. And this is the guy I shot last week on it. He, you can see, because he was missing a back leg, his antlers were warped. But it's an interesting animal, and either throw that away and totally forget about it, or have that down in the lodge and remember the sort of the hunt. So I think very importantly is that people understand that you don't just collect trophies because you're some sort of sadist that enjoys seeing dead things. Every time you look at one of those, it's a memento, and people come and go, oh, so where did you, what's the story behind that one, or what's the story behind that one? And you can remember, because you've got associated this trophy with the hunt. You can remember, yes, actually, that was because I went to, I was down in a stream and he was crossing the stream, and I was looking at, he didn't seem right. Oh yeah, and actually when I took a closer look, he was missing a back leg, so obviously a good one to take. And it's that sort of thing. It's the same with Africa. So what's the story behind your buffalo? Oh well, tell you what, that was a bit of an interesting one. I was obviously charging, or he was in a herd, and we spent hours looking for the right bull, which is true. You don't just walk into a herd and shoot the nearest bull you see. I've spent up to 3 or 4 hours waiting for the right bull to appear, or right bull to stand up. One time I was actually on a hunt. We stalked in for about 2 hours. It was a horrifically hard stalk, because the ground was poached by the buffalo, and then a dried solid, so there was basically rock hard cement poach marks all the way crawling up, so your knees were shot. So I got into about 150 yards, had a little look, chatting away to the client, not sure about that one. And I said, we sort of agreed on the right one. One with the grass on, with one with the oxpecker on his back. Okay, so he got up on the sticks, and as he brought the gun up onto the sticks, Christ knows what happened, but he pulled the trigger, or AD'd or whatever, and the gun went whoosh, and great big mud splatter flew up in front of us. I was pretty lucky no one was hit. Anyway, I had the presence of mind to carry on looking at the buffalo, and as they all got up, a monster stood up because they all lay down. The one we were sort of looking at was still there, but about 30 yards to his right, a monster stood up, and I was like, that one, take that one, move the sticks. So yeah, after all that hard work of just waiting around, it actually turned out a bit of an accident gave us gave us a shot on a more appropriate ball, a better ball. So yeah, it's things like that you'll remember. That's why people take photos. That's why people take the images that otherwise need to be sort of taken. So it's an interesting sort of dynamic that a lot of people don't understand. But I'm hoping with these videos and people, if you're watching this and you're not a shooting person, then you'll begin to understand that it's not just killing for the sake of killing. It's killing for the sake of biodiversity. It's killing for the sake of conservation. And I know people say, well, hunters hide behind conservation. I don't hide behind conservation. If it was the fact that I was shooting something because I wanted to shoot it for fun, I'd tell you. And sure, I go pheasant shooting, partridge shooting. That is shooting essentially for sport. And I don't hide behind that at all. It's a tradition amongst everybody. It's not an upper class sport, Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't had anything really sort of proper content this week. But like I said, it's my birthday, so I've struggled a bit to get out, but I'm hoping I'll get out in the next couple of weeks and give you an awesome second video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the blog. Let me know what you think about the issues I talked about. Obviously, first and foremost, the main message I want to come out of this is that Black Lives Matter, and please go out and read, research, do your work, donate, sign petitions, do all the stuff you need to do for those guys, because honestly, we are not the community we'll strive to be until everybody's equal. So that's the key. We can really come away from this video. I know I've talked about other issues as well, but for me, that's something I feel quite strongly about, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Anything you want to say it in the comments. Let me know if you want anything cool next time. Give me some ideas. Like, subscribe, share. Have a good one, guys.